I believe almost everything John Kelly is saying that Donald Trump said in the White House, and I don't think it's going to make a big difference in the race. Let me explain. So, if you've missed it, the Atlantic and the New York Times did interviews with John Kelly, who is Trump's former head of the Department of Homeland Security and former White House Chief of Staff, actually his longest serving White House Chief of Staff over the last few days. And in these interviews, Kelly, who has been critical of Trump before, but in these interviews, Kelly made clear a bunch of things about Trump that are at a minimum troubling. So let me just go through a couple things. The New York Times, to their credit, posted excerpts of what Kelly said to their reporter, Mike Schmidt, who's a great reporter. So Kelly said that Trump met the dictionary definition of a fascist. He said, quote, "So certainly in my experience, those are the kind of things that he thinks would work better in terms of running America. Certainly the former president is in the far-right area. He's certainly an authoritarian, admires people who are dictators. He has said that. So he certainly falls into the general definition of fascist for sure." Kelly also said of Trump, quote, "He certainly prefers the dictator approach to government." He said that Trump, quote, "never accepted the fact he wasn't the most powerful man in the world, and by power, I mean an ability to do anything he wanted, any time he wanted." Another Kelly quote, "I think he'd love to be just like he was in business. He could tell people to do things and they would do it and not really bother too much about whether the legalities were and what not." He also said that Trump said that Hitler did some good things. He said this of Trump, quote, "He's certainly the only president that has all but rejected what America is all about and what makes America America in terms of our Constitution, in terms of our values, the way we look at everything to include family and government. He's certainly the only president that I know of, certainly in my lifetime, that was like that." Now, there are more quotes, and I'll put a link to the New York Times story in interview and the Atlantic interview in the comments section below. But I want to get back to a couple things. So, first, as I said, I believe this stuff. And here's why I believe it. Why? Okay, let's start here. It's a he said, he said. Kelly says he said these things. Trump said he didn't. Who do you believe? Okay, so John Kelly is a guy who is a former Marine general, highly decorated, operated at the very high levels of the military, then went into government and served as Department of Homeland Security head, and then Trump's White House Chief of Staff. Donald Trump is a guy who, these are just facts, said 30,000 plus things that were false or misleading during his time in the presidency and has a history of prevarication, to put it mildly. So that's number one. Like, in that competition, I'm going to probably believe John Kelly, just generally speaking. Then number two, why would John Kelly lie? Like, he's not... I know the Trump people are portraying him as, oh, he's just disgruntled. Trump fired him and he can't stand that. I mean, he's not a never Trumper. He's not a guy who's made a bunch of money off of speaking out against Trump. He's not a member of the Lincoln Project, for example, right? He's a guy who went and served in the Trump administration and then served as Trump's chief of staff. This is not a liberal, right? So why would he lie about this? What incentive would he have to lie? My guess is his policy positions very much more aligned with Donald Trump than they do with Kamala Harris. So I don't totally understand that logic either. So that gets me to my point one, which is I do believe him when he says these things. Because I think he's pretty trustworthy, and I don't see why he would lie. And the guy on the other side isn't particularly trustworthy, and I totally see why he would lie about this stuff, about not having said this stuff. Then it gets to my second point, why I don't think it'll matter. Okay, the people who read a Q&A with John Kelly in the New York Times, or a long piece interview with John Kelly in the Atlantic, I'm oversimplifying here, but I will say, and I feel pretty confident in this, the vast majority of those people already are going to vote for Kamala Harris. They already believe what John Kelly is saying about Donald Trump. They don't need to be convinced. The Republican base, the Trump folks, they're not reading a New York Times interview with John Kelly or the Atlantic Magazine interview with John Kelly. They think John Kelly is a bitter guy that Trump got rid of and did a bad job. They're immune to facts about John Kelly. And then we get to the middle, the undecided voter. First of all, there's not that many of those people. Second of all, if I'm generalizing, those people tend to be low or no information voters, meaning they don't pay attention day in, day out, or even week in, week out to what's happening in politics. So I'm not convinced that those people are consuming this information. Yes, I know it was covered on the morning shows. I know it will continue to get coverage. I just don't know if it trumps, grocery prices, inflation, immigration, jobs broadly, the economy broadly writ. I don't know. I'm skeptical that it does, candidly, because to me, so much of this stuff with Trump is baked in. You can, if you're on the left, you say, how can this not make people not vote for him? This guy is un-American. This is a military general who served as his chief of staff who's saying he admired Hitler. I know. I get it. 100%. I am just telling you that for undecided voters, for lots of people in this country, they just kind of say like, that's just Trump being Trump. They give him a pass. Or even if they don't give him a pass, they don't vote on the issue. And that's what we're talking about here. Is this an issue that is going to change people's minds or make their minds up, right? Is this an issue which people say, that's it? This and no further. I cannot vote for Donald Trump based on what John Kelly just said. And I don't think that it is. Again, hear me. That is different than me saying I don't think that it should be. I think democracy is fundamental to what's going on in this election, but a lot of undecided voters simply do not. And again, my job here is to tell you not what I think, but what I think people think. This is my second video today because, look, we're close to the election, and sometimes there's more than one topic I want to talk about, so I'm not going to say, like, I'm only going to make one video a day. I'm also not going to say I'm going to make 2 videos every day because I probably won't. But on days where I feel like it makes sense, where there's enough there, I'm going to do this, whether it's election time or not, because I want to bring you my takes and my analysis and my context to you to, I hope, help you better understand what's going on in the world of politics. Okay, as always, 4 things. 1, subscribe to this channel. Easy. 2, like this video. 3, comment on this video for the algorithm. And 4, tell 10 friends. Does that make sense to everybody? Can we do that? Can we agree to do that? And don't forget, Fridays, I make videos Monday through Thursday. I make a daily, or sometimes, as in the case of today, twice daily videos. And then on Fridays, I do a live stream, 1 p.m. Eastern time every Friday for about an hour. I try to take questions of all sorts about politics and not, from people who agree with me and people who don't agree with me. So I try to do that every single Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern time. So I hope you will check that out if you haven't. It's really fun. We get a couple hundred people on. We chat. We laugh. It's a riotous good time. All right. Everybody take care, and I'll see you tomorrow.